Hello, Cloud Gurus. I'm Matthias Anderson, one of the developer advocates here at Pluralsight and A Cloud Guru, and you just missed all the dancing that happened before the stream, so that's your loss, but we are live from reInvent 2022. This is Thursday, day 4 of the conference, depending on how you count. Some people count from Tuesday, but we had Monday Night Live on Monday with Peter DeSantis. We had Tuesdays, Adam Selipsky, CEO keynote. Yesterday, Swami.
Swami.
I'm gonna have to, yeah, anyway. And today we had Dr. Werner Vogels. But before we dive in, Jess, do you want to introduce yourself a little?
Yes, okay. So I am Jess Alvarez. I'm an AWS training architect at A Cloud Guru and Pluralsight. Jeremy, over to you.
Hi, and I'm Jeremy Morgan. I'm a developer advocate and dancer at Pluralsight.
Busted.
Professional dancer.
Professional dancer, as of
yeah.
today.
All right, well, we're live, so we are taking questions and whatnot, but we already see that we have some people joining us. Love from India, love right back. Honestly, we are so honored to be connecting with you all continuously through this conference, and we're happy to talk today about Dr. Werner Vogels' keynote from this morning. It was awesome. I mean, we started out with, you have to watch the replay. Like, yeah, you have to watch the replay. There's a Matrix spoof at the start, and it's worth it. You just have to go check that out. But we jumped into some themes. Do either of you want to jump in with some themes here?
Sure. So, in a way, it kind of felt like this talk was a lesson on system design.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, I felt like it was a lesson for sure. But in a really fun way. And so it was kind of an overall abstract type of talk about loosely coupled systems and some of Amazon's design thinking philosophy, like the reason they do loosely coupled systems because of fewer dependencies and feature isolation and things like that, and decomposing things. One thing I saw that stood out was saying decomposing things into small, well understood building blocks. And a lot of that's based on a paper that Dr. Vogels wrote in 1998, I think. Am I right about the year? It's somewhere around there.
It was a while back, yeah.
And a lot of it's based on that, and he said, it's dated now, but there's roots in what he was talking about today all the way back into that paper. And so a lot of it was a good, instead of just kind of a list of features that are being released, a lot of it was a good, this is Amazon, and this is why we do things, and this is what we're hoping you will do with our systems. So I was impressed. I mean, this is not my first Werner Vogels speech, but I knew what to expect, but I was still like, this is awesome. Like,
yeah, I mean, his keynotes are my favorites every year. I'm so sorry to Adam Selipsky and the rest of the crew, Andy Jassy. You've all had great stuff, like, honestly, but I mean, when we're comparing Dr. Werner Vogels, I mean,
the man rules. I don't know.
Yeah.
I believe some people had signs even.
Oh, signs.
I made a sign. Yeah, I made a sign. I love Werner. I should have Man, hindsight.
Yeah. No, every year he comes out with such a valuable breakdown of key things that are addressing, that people need to address in their real circumstances, right? So this year, the asynchronicity that was really, like, it was so front and center, and how nature itself is asynchronous, right?
Yes.
And because of that, we can't really just keep assuming that we have this synchronization. We have to design things to work that in a way that scales like the world scales. And the spoof was a great example of that, a demonstration of that. But we got into what that means for building systems. And so you mentioned loosely coupled systems as opposed to tightly coupled ones. And we know that high cohesion and loose coupling are really core parts of computing science principles. And so, again, I really appreciate that he brings those things out, right?
Absolutely. And he shows such great examples, like not just the video at the beginning, which absolutely was incredible.
Was awesome.
And if you take away anything else, that's what you take away from it. But everything else, he showed us diagrams of different types of environments and different architectures that carry that across as well. I think that is absolutely helpful in driving home that theory.
Totally.
Again, a lesson.
Yes.
A lesson from Werner.
Yeah.
And the flock of birds.
I mean,
example.
Dr. Werner, right?
I love that.
Yes.
That was amazing how
Amazing.
talked about how it's a system, of birds flying around, and how at one time people thought they used telepathy to communicate
Yeah.
and things like that, but it's individual decision making. You know, as soon as he says that, it's like, wow, really? That's a system
Yeah.
with individual bunch of microservices
Brilliant.
loosely coupled,
Yeah.
flying next to each other. And
man is
that was
treasure.
cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned also that those components need to be understandable. And so I think that's
Yeah.
sort of the other side of the low coupling and high cohesion. That the cohesion makes it an understandable bit of like, you can sort of wrap your brain around this thing so that you can then use it. And he gave an example of how S3 started out with 8 services when it launched, and now it was what, 200 or something?
Yeah,
I don't
thought I put
remember
that in
the
the notes,
specific
but
number,
I
yeah,
got the
like
numbers.
over 200.
it's a lot.
It's a lot.
and-
Yeah, it's exponentially grew.
yeah, yeah. But the idea of getting from here to there is that the architecture is something that can evolve over time. It's an evolvable architecture. And if we don't have an evolvable architecture, if we're trying to waterfall, massive monolith, try to design everything perfectly from the beginning, it's not a successful approach. We've learned that in software development. We've
Over
learned
and
that,
over
right?
again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, all right. So that was sort of like the high level description, but then he jumped into one of my absolute favorite announcements of the entire event, because this is really driving at what AWS is doing to address the real needs of people moving forward. He said, we have these tools like Elastic MapReduce, and we can do things in other services, but people keep saying, I don't want to do all of that. I want to use some Lambdas. So AWS Step Functions Distributed Map, which is now generally available, all you do is you go in there, you give it 2 Lambdas. You give it a map and a reduce, and off it goes. It'll scale out like mad. It'll bring it all back together. I mean, we've been talking about this at Serverless Confs, and Dr. Pete Sparsky has given a talk on some of this. He co-presented with, I can't remember the person's name at this point, but this is like not a new idea, but now it's available in AWS, in the system, just generally available.
Yes. That's incredible.
Yeah. So anything, what stood out to you next, Jess?
To me, Application Composer.
Okay.
When that came out, I instantly saw it as a really big deal for anybody who's not writing applications regularly. It's a visual canvas, right? So you're clicking, you're dragging, and you're dropping, creating your application. This is also, if you turn around and look at it a different perspective, anybody who is just starting their journey into application writing. If you're a visual learner, you can drag and drop and kind of use it to feel around and see if this is something that you're interested in and how it works and understand it better. So I think that this is a game changer, and it opens a lot of doors for beginners.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's so much stuff that's being brought to more people, making it more accessible. What were you gonna,
Absolutely.
Yeah. What were you gonna, Jeremy?
Oh, I also really like the Application Composer thing.
Yeah.
That was really cool. And it's once again, like we've been talking about for a couple days now, it's that low code, no code approach
Yeah.
for people who are extremely brilliant and talented in their field,
Yeah.
but they don't want to be a coder.
Right.
And who can blame them?
No, and I mean, why should they be, right? Like, why should, if we have the ability to make technology that can be used by people more easily, why should we have this gate of you must go and learn all of this
Yes.
stuff to be like, a part of the people who can do it? Like, no, we want to make it available to as many people as possible. And then those people will go and do amazing things. So,
And I
yeah.
think it even reduces friction for developers too. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
any of us would,
Totally.
if we have an option, you want to take a few minutes and drag and drop, or do you want to write a bunch of scripts?
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Any of us are
going
gonna
to
be like,
do you want today? Big one or a small one? Which way do you want to go?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, indeed, right?
So cool.
Yeah, so that actually sort of ties in, I think, to the jumping down a little bit, the code catalyst. It seems like that's a natural progression from this that we were just talking about. So again, taking away the undifferentiated heavy lifting, right?
Yeah,
Like,
heavy lifting.
I knew
They're so
they were
good
going
at
to keep repeating that, right?
Yeah.
But the code catalyst in particular takes away the heavy lifting that sits around development. So going from an idea to production much quicker, because you basically just click in, oh, I want to use React, I want to use this, I want to put it on GitHub, I want to use VS Code, or connect it to Jira, and you just like click, 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 and then you hit the go, and it gives you like this, okay, we've done all these things for you. And I mean, who loves
to jam?
Yeah. Who loves going and setting up all of those things I just mentioned, right?
Nobody. Not me.
Nobody.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
I
no,
kind of
that's-
like it.
Oh,
Guilty.
A little bit.
Okay.
Oh,
But if
God.
I have a job
in
to
the
do.
future. So when next time I'm going to do it, I will ask you to do it
Yeah.
instead.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. Hey, Jeremy, I got a job for you.
But if I have a task that I need to do, then of course.
Yeah,
I need to
yeah,
drop it.
yeah.
And
So-
we're reaching that point to where the AWS console is going to be the IDE of choice.
Oh,
I
for
mean-
sure.
I mean, for Amazon developers, of course.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so I mean, they did also mention Cloud9 to be able to integrate with that, which
Yeah.
we're getting
Yeah.
there, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
all tied together to make it as easy as possible. Also CI/CD actually, so like included, it just sort of like sets up the whole thing, so it deploys to your test, and then it's got validation checks along the way, and you can.
Oh man, and then team collaboration with an email address?
Mm,
What? That is
Oh,
so
yeah.
great.
that was really good.
That was awesome. I was like, it's difficult enough to try to get everybody on the same page about what's going on.
Yeah.
And now with an email address, good. Now everybody's on the same page. We did it.
yeah.
Thank you, Amazon.
I love it. Yeah.
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 And another note I had about that, it was switching dev environments between code bases with one click.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't have to be constantly messing with, oh, I know I'm all set up for dealing with this thing. I can't deal with that other thing. It's going to take me hours to like switch it all over.
Yeah.
Or how many things do you have to remember, and you get one wrong, and then you're like, oops, I accidentally deployed. Anyway, yeah. Like, oh, no. I mean, you should never be like accidentally deploying to prod in any environment, right, from your dev machine.
Never
But
do
just like
that.
I accident anyway, whatever.
Never.
Never do that.
So just to clarify, that was Amazon Code Catalyst, which is in preview.
That
So
is
that's
in
the
preview.
thing you want to look up if you're wanting to dig in more.
Mhm.
But all right, let's move on to another thing here. Anyone want to jump in with something next? What stood out?
There was another deeper dive into SimSpace Weaver.
Oh, that was so cool.
So cool. And in the demo, he shows planting trees in Bolivia, I believe it was.
I can't remember
I
where,
don't
but
remember
yes.
the region.
Yeah, I think it was
But it was
Bolivia.
varied,
But,
and it was amazing.
But he's doing a simulation, and one of the things I think that blew me away the most was not just the idea that they're doing a simulation, right? So they're showing, what if we planted trees here, and here's a place that's getting kind of sparse because of deer. What if we put up a fence? Just being able to do that stuff without actually having to physically do it is one thing, but then there's the time part of it. He mentioned specifically that fourth dimension. There's a time part
Yeah.
to where it's like, let's see what it looks like in 200 years.
Right.
That was one of the things that really blew me away, that I hadn't really considered or thought about much with simulations, is that time factor. You can slow it down
Yeah.
to milliseconds or years with your simulations, and I had all kinds of ideas.
Right?
After
I want
watching
to play
that.
with it. That
Yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah.
It
I
was
was like, we're gonna
really
play with. I'm
interesting.
gonna play with it 4 weeks,
Yeah.
and nobody would. I wasn't seen again. She was gone
Yeah.
suddenly.
And that led into a discussion of quantum computing, because simulating certain types of things like proteins or whatever, those are, again, the watching the keynote, he showed, 2 to the 250 or
Oh, God.
250 bits or something like that, was
That
it?
was
I
a
don't know. It
ridiculous
was a very
number.
long number. It's more than,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a larger number than any part of the universe, no
I
matter how
don't think
fine
he
you
even
go.
tried to pronounce it. He was
Yeah.
just like, the number is on the screen.
Yeah, he said that he gave it to Polly, and it took a minute to read it out.
Oh
so,
my God.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the point is that
Polly.
just sort of calling back out to all the work they're doing with Amazon or AWS, I don't know which one it is, Bracket, the Bracket service to do quantum computing. So, yeah. Experiment, measure, learn, they called out. That was an important part of the way that you build these things forward, because Every complex system has started out as a simpler system that works, was a key call out, right? And we need to understand that it's not just like drive straight to the complex system and it's going to be perfect. We really need to start with the thing that works and then move it forward. So again, this is more software development principles, right? Like you don't, anyway, so.
And evolution. Oh, evolve or die.
Evolve or die.
That's stuck in my head. I will never get rid of that phrase. That's just how I live now.
Yeah. There are all sorts of great quotes all the way throughout.
Yes.
So, by the way, hello, Chris Roberts from Jacksonville, Florida, as well. You were given a call out. It was a while ago. I'm sorry. It took a while to find a good spot to cut in. But all right, what do we want to talk about next here?
Oh, EventBridge pipes.
Oh, yes. And do you want to give his quote that he gave for that one?
Oh my gosh, yes. Where is it? Oh my gosh.
So, it's...
Basically, this is pipes on steroids.
Yeah, I mean...
Thanks, Bernard.
So, not just like Unix pipes, but like pipes on steroids.
Yes, he was so good. I think it's he mentioned also it was going to be like a money saver, which is incredible because of how quick it is.
Yeah.
And it's built-in advanced integrations, like security, reliability, scalability, and nobody wants to not save money, right?
Yeah.
And was like, I will not do that. So this is going to be great and help a lot of people who are using EventBridge who already rely on event-driven architecture. And they're going to see cost go.
Yeah.
That's great.
Now, just a quick note for those of you who aren't familiar with EventBridge, if you might be familiar with CloudWatch Events, it's the same thing. It just got renamed in mid-2020, I think it was, partly because it outgrew its CloudWatch origin. Like, it's not just, CloudWatch sort of makes you think, oh, you're getting metrics, and that's what it was originally for, but it was turned into an eventing system, and then all these extra integrations were added, and CloudWatch was kind of like, given the wrong idea. So EventBridge is the new name, and this is now EventBridge Pipes, so you can just combine them together. Integrations in minutes, so I love this. Built-in filtering for events, right? So you don't have to write a Lambda to filter the events as it's going from place to place. You can clearly say, this is what I want to flow from here to there, and it just takes care of that part of the system. So that is definitely an important part. And then also, you can add a Lambda to manipulate the events that are flowing through. So you can really compose stuff so easily without having to have like a bunch of like a cluster, a bunch of stuff sitting there that's idle and doing stuff. No. The whole theme is event-driven architecture is the future. Like, this is the way to design systems, right? So we're moving up the abstraction stack, and serverless, event-driven architecture, this is where it's at. If you're not looking at that, you're going to be left behind. So don't ignore it.
Don't.
Yep,
Jump
absolutely.
in. Jump into event-driven archecture, please.
I'll talk for hours about that. So you definitely need to stop me.
Let's see.
We had. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just play beautiful football, but forget to score.
Easy. He
His
had
little
some great
snips
flags.
Are so good, you guys. You have to watch it.
There were some shout outs I appreciated as well. Werner shouted out the 253 AWS heroes. He was talking about the Gang of Four code pattern, the design patterns book, the Gang of Four, and also calling out Martin Fowler, who has done so much awesome stuff. So just having those links of things to take a look into, I think are really valuable for people, because if you go and find the AWS heroes and what they're doing and saying, you're going to learn. If you read the Design Patterns book, you're going to learn. If you go and look at Martin Fowler's Blicky or all of his articles that he's got, you're going to learn. So it's such good stuff. Yeah.
Yep, and that's great stuff for beginners too, because
for sure.
A lot of times the way that we learn as developers, like when I started as a developer, was water cooler chat. When people are away from their computers, and then that's when somebody says, oh, well, have you checked out Design Patterns before, or something like that. Well, now we're so much more remote, and the water cooler chat thing, it's a whole other conversation. But the water cooler chat
Yeah.
thing is different now.
Yeah.
And so I feel like a lot of that was for newer developers who are like, Martin Fowler, who's that? You know, click, click, click. Opens up a whole
Exactly.
world, you know,
Absolutely.
and Gang of Four, what does that mean? you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Such important and valuable things. And he also called out that they have like a repository of all these things. The Amazon Builders Library,
Yes.
where they have a lot of patterns that are sort of beyond the Gang of Four design patterns for code. They're more like architectural patterns or heavy lifting things that you have to do that aren't coding, but that are important. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
What do we
definitely
have
going
left
to check
here?
out the Builder Library.
Yeah, you're gonna go check it out now. We're doing a live stream.
Oh, no,
Jeremy.
not right now.
now.
Keep going, keep going.
Don't mind me. I'm just.
Quick call out.
Yeah.
This year we had 7 women guest speakers go through for our keynote so far. Well, I guess that's it, right?
Those are the keynotes,
for the expo.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. I love that we're seeing a more diverse representation within AWS, and they're pulling in guest speakers that are doing the same.
Yeah.
That is really refreshing, and it does help, especially when we are pushing to grow diversity across
Yeah.
the tech field.
Yeah.
To see that Amazon is sort of leading by example. So that's really cool.
I love it. It's so important. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, very cool. And it's one of those things where they're making a statement without saying anything.
Yeah, it's it's a
but
wink and a gun.
Yeah.
And again, for newer people getting into the industry, you know, when they see someone that looks like them
Yes.
on stage in front of
Yes.
thousands of people, it's like,
Yes.
oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly that.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, awesome. One other thing that I had to call out was all the work about turning images into spatial data, like the 3D modeling. So a 3D model's worth 1,000 pictures was kind of a fun take on the quote, right? But actually, it's more because there's even there's a lot more data in a 3D model than even just the pictures, right? But it turns out that with a lot of really interesting technologies and strategies, they can generally build a 3D model with about 12 images, and that space is called photogrammy, whatever, that thing.
Photogrammetry.
Photogrammetry.
Is that
how
That's
you say it?
so
I
much
get a
better.
cookie?
Yeah.
I get a cookie.
I'll give you a
Someone give me
cookie.
a
Yeah, I
cookie.
don't have one with you, but yes. Awesome. That thing, data sets, you can do a lot of really interesting things when you turn them into a 3D asset. And so there was a customer sort of story about from Epic Games about Unreal Engine and a lot of the other tools that they have, Matterport, to be a part of this. But I thought it was really interesting how this is really sort of moving forward. I think Dr. Berner was giving us a bit of a heads up, like, hey, look, if you're not thinking about this stuff yet, you should start thinking about it because 3D technology is proliferating, and maybe not the thing you're going to go work on, tomorrow, but it's probably something that should be bouncing around in our heads so that we can,
Usher in the new era.
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, we're constantly moving forward in technology,
Absolutely.
right? It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and some
Evolve
of
or
it just
die.
kind of is nice to have stuff. Like Matterport
Yeah.
is cool. If you're shopping for a house, it feels like you walk through the house, you know.
Yeah.
And
that
it's
was cool.
it's a nice to have. But then he talks about like his shoe, the
Yeah.
custom made shoe, and then it's like you start thinking of people with disabilities and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
How are they going to help? Like that. I was pretty impressed by the 3D shoe. I was like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
wow,
me too.
that's
I was
cool.
like, I need me some of them shoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the other things I was thinking about is he was saying that instead of having like 4 pairs of shoes shipped to you and then you ship 3 of them back, being able to get it right on the first ship, that actually sort of made me think, well, then you're also reducing the carbon emissions for the transfer from
all the
the
shipping.
shipping back, right? So all of these things, they sort of add up. And if we're always looking for opportunities, like you said, people with disabilities, that's a great place to use that. We were talking about first responders, all sorts of circumstances where this can impact people's lives, right? So now this has been a full event. Any other
So full.
last things to call out? Have we missed something? I mean, I'm sure we've missed stuff, but in general, we tried to bring you all the key things.
Right.
Oh, I guess one thing, just a quick call out, patterns for event-driven architectures. You wanna, there were 3 stages that I just wanted to reiterate.
Oh,
the
yeah.
change data capture, then the asynchronous coupling, and the self-healing replicators. If you remember those 3 pieces to building an event-driven architecture, you can make more successful ones. Because if you are missing those things, then you're going to be tripping over some of those things where lessons have been learned and you could take advantage of them without having to, I mean, I always hear people say, you know, you should learn from your experience, but I think it's even better if you can learn from other people's experience.
Absolutely.
You don't have to have the pain yourself.
The pain has already been had. It need not be had by
Let's
me.
not share it around. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to replay tonight. Some of you will be, some of you will be joining us live at replay, so take a look for us, and we'd love to meet you there. But it'll also be a fun time. Martin Garrix is back, just like 2016, which was my first replay. Oh yeah, the T-shirts, and it's always an awesome event. So definitely, if you're on site, make sure you make it to that. And if you're coming next year, don't fly out early on Friday morning after replay. Give yourself some buffer. But anyway, that's another one of those.
I feel like
lessons
that's
learned.
directed towards me.
It's not directed towards anyone. No.
Wink, wink. Jeremy.
I was too late. I gave the advice, but it was
The play was booked.
It was booked. All right. Before the last thing I want to say before we go is that already I saw that the playlist for AWS events for the sessions that they've been running at reInvent, it already has 116 session breakout videos in that playlist already. So they have been recording them and they've been publishing them. So you are not missing out, even if you weren't able to catch all of those things right away. You can go and check out those sessions. So we'll try and drop a link to that in the descriptions because
Yes.
that's
Social
what we'll
channels.
do. But that is pretty much it. We're signing off for our recaps and top announcements and sort of favorite things and stuff.
We made it.
Yes. reInvent is an exhausting week, but it is also so worth it.
So
It is so worth it.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to get home and play with all my new toys.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. All right. Well, if there's nothing else,
Huh?
then I guess keeping
Awesome
awesome, Cloud
Cloud
Gurus.
Gurus. One
guys
day
gonna dance now?
Yeah, I'll do dance.
Oh yeah. No. It's too late. It's live. It's
It's
done.
live. There's no
Turn us off.